What's up, you guys? Your girl G here. Welcome back to my channel. You know, look at me. Just chilling today. We are in the bonnet. And I usually don't be like this, but y'all ready to love didn't give us, honestly, nothing too much for this part 2 reunion. The season, honestly, didn't give us that much. So this is just going to be a quick recap of, part 2. Y'all can catch out the first part that already is uploaded and everything. So y'all be sure to check that out. But let's go ahead and get into the review. So we kind of basically just pick up with Andre and Jeffrey. We all know Andre and Jeffrey were kind of like the more focus of this season. Andre, Jeffrey, Cynthia, Anthony, and of course Morgan, Tony, and that just hullabaloo. So we basically pick up with the house. Tommy. Everybody knows when all the couples go to the houses where you really try to figure out, like, am I gonna be into this person or am I, dipping and moving on? So they, of course, show the footage of everybody, dancing, the candle situation. Cynthia, she had bars when she was like, I'm going to name this candle Coffee because I want to wake up to you every morning. Everybody was like, almost like it was a rap battle. Everybody was like, ooh, at the same time. It was like bars, okay? So Cynthia and Anthony, y'all, I really loved them together. I was so, upset to hear what happened at the end. But yeah, nonetheless, all the couples are there. Jeffrey, she was into Mark Anthony and Andre. Andre still don't know what type of hairstyle he want to do. I think it was either Mercedes or one of the girls was in the back. Like, she was like, or it might have been Marcia. She was like, Andre still don't know what he want to do. Like, he's still got this half up, half down situation. First of all, you got a ponytail in your hair and you're also wearing capri suits, sir. It's like you just don't know what you want to do. Like, the fact that you are, what did Maurice say on Love and Marriage Huntsville? A double-minded man. Andre is double-minded as all finna because you got a half-up bun, down a hair situation, afro. Then you're wearing a suit with capris, like jegging bottoms, like that cut off at your kneecaps. Like, why don't you never want to commit to one thing, Andre? Like, it's a problem. If you can't even commit to a full suit, you definitely can't commit to a whole ass grown woman, which we saw. So, Jeffrey and Andre, of course, we go through their journey, and ultimately, in the beginning, they felt like it was the right thing, and as things, prolonged, I actually agree with Jeffrey, where she basically said Andre, kind of felt like she felt like Andre knew a few weeks before, the final episode that he didn't really want to, commit to a woman who had 3 kids. And she was like, I wish, like, he should have just said that instead of coming all the way to the end and then trying to give some BS excuse of like, oh, well, you don't know your baby's fathers. And she was like, to be punished and villainized for something that I can't, fix. I'm not going to chase after a man for him to take care of his kids. And honestly, that is the story of a lot of women where it's like, you're chasing these men to be dads. Like, they don't know how to be fathers outside of the home because for most men, or, society says for a man, just show up and pay the bills. Like, that's all you got to do is show up and pay the bills. That's all you gotta do. Show up, pay the bills, be in the house. And that's like a good dad. But ultimately, like, no, like being a genuinely like present father involves interacting with your kids, taking care of them, all of these things. And, Jeffrey having 3 of them, but it is a little weird that out of 3 of them, I don't know if they're 3 different baby fathers or I think it might be 2. But out of the baby's fathers, like, both of them are trash. Like, Jeffrey, that means you kind of got an issue. And I think Jeffrey might have the issue of, like, very, like, fantasizing her man so he can be the right person. Because, girl, you only knew Andre for 2 weeks and already was calling him your biblical husband. You're just so strong, and I just know you're my biblical husband. If I heard the word biblical again, like, oh, my God, I was gonna, like, freaking just cut my ears off. Girl, biblical husband, like, cut the shit. So Andre basically said the same thing. He was like, I was just attracted to Jeffrey's, energy. And as he said to his, I think it was his sister or whatever, he's like, I'm attracted to her femininity, her softness. Jeffrey gave off real damsel in distress. Like, it was like, I call it the Venus flytrap. She was so sweet, so soft looking, and you were luring all the guys in. And the next thing you know, I got you, caught in the web, stuck. All of a sudden, you got this bass on your voice on the reunion, like, Harpo, who this woman? Who is this talking right now? Because Jeffrey, That Jeffrey that was at the reunion was not the Jeffrey that we saw during the season, okay? But yeah, no, basically Jeffrey called out Andre and was like, I feel like you absolutely knew. And like for him to come up with the excuse, oh, now like it's weird that you don't know who your baby's fathers are. Like, bruh, those were questions that could have definitely been answered already. So yeah, so we end up going from them to Mark Anthony and Mercedes. They were a cute little couple. Obviously that whole situation is their long distance. Mercedes ended up choosing herself because at the end of the day, like I can't be in a relationship with somebody and where I don't feel like I have an anchor. He's from New York, she's from, Miami, and how do you really have an anchor in a long distance relationship? Come to find out, Mark Anthony's ex is actually a flight attendant too. So, bruh, seems like you kind of got a pattern here. You like finding unavailable women. Like, I feel like Mark Anthony finds unavailable women because he's scared to fully commit. And so I think a part of him, either subconsciously or intentionally, he's finding women he knows he doesn't have to worry about like the full commitment to. But him and Mercedes, at the end of the day, they's in a full-on situationship. You can tell. The way he would say, like, man, look at this woman. Like, she just look good. That's always gonna be my little boo thing. Like, that's basically how he was talking to Tommy. Like, Mercedes is actually one of the like prettier girls. Like her look, her dress, and everything. Like, she was the most like nicely dressed to me for the reunion. But nonetheless, yeah, Mark Anthony, Mercedes, they gonna be in a nice little situationship / fling thing. I fly here, you fly there. We gonna flew each other out. Her being a flight attendant, so every time she in New York, y'all know what's popping. Look, I'm in New York. Hey, big head. Like, that's what she gonna hit Mark Anthony with. So yeah, so Mark Anthony, he obviously was into Jeffrey as well, but he fell back real fast because at the end of the day, he knew he wasn't gonna take care of 3 kids. So then we got to get to obviously Lyndon, Tony, and Morgan. So this situation super escalated because it was like a competition between 2 men. Obviously, Morgan was like, I like Lyndon. Tony was full of red flags, but we had spent a lot of time together. And with Lyndon, we actually developed a genuine friendship. So Morgan is obviously having a battle that a lot of women have, which is like the want versus need. I want Tony, he comes with that extra hard masculine, energy that women kind of are attracted to. You're attracted to the mysteriousness. You're attracted to the, trying to make him change for me. If he changed his ways for me, I must be the woman type situation. But then Lyndon, on the outside isn't super masculine presenting. He's more quiet. He's, soft-spoken, like all those things women just kind of seem like almost like a negative. But when you're in a relationship, like niggas like Tony literally are the reason why they say women in relationships be stressed the fuck out, okay? Be having more heart attacks than anything. And Tony's full of shit. Like Morgan, like he admitted it. She's like, yeah, Tony just be saying stuff, as a man, he be like, Tony admitted on the show. Oh, when we get around guys, we just say stuff. We don't really mean it. Like Tony is a facade. He's a player. He's just all around just full of shit, honestly. And he gets called out by, from Natasha later on in the episode. But Tommy was like, Lyndon, how'd you feel about Tony saying that you were hounding Morgan? He was like, cause I was. He basically was hounding Morgan until he saw like how she was affected by, was crying and everything. Ooh, sorry, y'all, my wrist was hurting holding it on this side. Yeah, he was like, basically he realized how much it was affecting Morgan and just kind of like fell back, but still, let Morgan know that Tony ain't that great for you. He's just full of just full of it. That's all. Only thing just full of shit. Like Tony, just everything he comes out his mouth is just wordplay, as my dad liked to call it, the sweet nothings. Sweet nothings. So what else happens? Lyndon and Tony play for Morgan's heart. Oh, Morgan talked about Marcia. So here's where things get a little spicy. Okay. So Morgan was like, yeah, I felt like had Marcia came, she definitely would have been a good distraction for Lyndon. She was like, distraction who? She was like, you would have, like, Tony wouldn't have had time to basically pay attention to me and Lyndon because he would have been, entertaining you. And so she was like, Marcia really got offended by that. And the fact that Marcia was so hyped to Morgan, sorry y'all, hold on. The way that she was so reactionary to Morgan, like in the back of my head, I'm like, you and Tony looking like you and Tony got something going on, because it was just like she was just so reactive to Morgan calling her a distraction. Now, is being called a distraction just such a terrible thing? Like, would you kind of feel like, ooh, bitch, like, excuse me? Yeah. But I don't think, like, the reaction that Marcia gave, like, was just necessary. So they started going back and forth. Everybody in the background looking like, ooh, like, you know, in the back. I love now that they have the cameras in the back and you're getting to see everybody else's reaction to everything. So you see everybody, Mark Anthony, everybody in the back just like, oh my God, here it go. Like, ding, ding, ding. She talking about, girl, you shut up. Girl, I ain't even talking to you. And she's like, well, you looking at me? She's like, no, I'm not looking at you, but you want me to look at you. And she was like, girl, you need to quit. Like, you're insane. And Tommy's like, whoa, wait a minute. She was like, girl, wasn't nobody talking to you. You would have been a distraction, like I said, because Tony would have been entertained with, you know, me and paid attention to Lyndon. And the truth is, Marcia, as much as you don't like how it sounds, like, that's kind of what you would have been. But Morgan, someone like, girl, you just upset that I'm the one and, like, you're number two. It's just kind of like, but do you not remember that Lyndon told you, Tony said, if Marcia comes back, you can have Morgan? Which would explain why, you know, him and Marcia are doing their little things. As she said, lunch dates. You know, we go on lunch dates. I don't, you know, see Tony at night because, you know, he ain't earned that yet. You know, we definitely not doing no night dinners, no nightcaps, no nothing. We can go to brunch with my little pina coladas. I wouldn't give Tony the time of day. And like Marcia said in her, like, kind of film playback, she's like, you know, Tony has a lot of red flags, but there's just something about him that just kind of sucks me in. And I'm like, what are y'all seeing? Like, what are y'all seeing in Tony? Everything about him, it just screams cornball to me. I don't get it. Like, I'm not getting it. But yeah, Morgan and Marcia, they went back and forth. Girl, you shut up. I'm not even looking at you, girl. You need to stop talking. Like, she said, you need to mind your business. When nobody even talking to you? And I mean, honestly, Marcia, really wasn't nobody talking about you. Oh, sorry, y'all. Yeah, but okay, girl, go ahead, girl, do you. So, what happened after that? Okay, so we get into, Tony and, Natasha. So, we finally kind of get a little bit more of the story, which is basically Tony and Natasha, they clicked, you know, at the match, you know, the mixer. Natasha gets sent home, but they still stay in contact. And Tommy noted that, you know, you would kind of went against the rules. So Natasha was like, yeah, me and Tony, you know, we were talking, and Tony was filling her head with bull. Because why did you even ask her is the thing. Like, this is the shit that niggas do. You gonna ask Natasha, well, do you want me to leave or whatever? And she basically was like, I wasn't gonna tell him that because, you know, you need to go, you know, have the experience. Because I know that way if you come back to me, like, you know, you chose me. Like, this is something you really want to do. So Tommy asked Tony, well, if Natasha had asked you to leave, would you have done it? He was like, well, I don't know about that. Everybody was like, oh, come on, Tony. Like, everybody knew it was bullshit. Like, everybody. Because that you're just saying shit at this point, Tony. Like, you really are just telling women what they want to hear. And Natasha called it out. And then the fact, I don't like, Mark Anthony was really on some bitch assness, like, this whole reunion, like, coming, like, always caping for the men. And I don't like Jeffrey, but I appreciate that she was, like, calling out Mark Anthony, like, yo, this was your one time to stand up for the women. Like, you stand up for the women for once, because these niggas was out of line. And Natasha, you know, she was saying stuff and he's like, oh, slander. And Mercedes like, well, you better hush, because she might have some receipts. She might have something to back it up. And she didn't need the receipts because Tony literally admitted to it. I mean, I don't know if I would have left, you know. So why'd you say it? Why'd you even bring it up if you know you wasn't going to leave? Like, that's the shit we be talking about. So she was like, well, you know, Tony left and he basically ghosted me. And Tony said he didn't reply to her because he found out that she told producers that they, you know, had sex. And she was like, first of all, I wasn't blowing you up. I messaged you like once. And she was like, this is the stuff we be talking about. She was like, a lot of times what happens, you know, Tony isn't really here for love. You know, I came here for love, and that's not what Tony's doing, because if you really meant it, you wouldn't have did what you did. You know, women, we open ourselves up, you know, to be vulnerable around men, and your intention isn't to really, you know, be a safe space for me. It's to tell me lies and, you know, just tell me what I want to hear. And y'all, that's what y'all do to women. Y'all tell them what you want to hear so you can get the cookie, stick your hand in the cookie jar, and once you got your fill, you take off running. And that's what Tony did. Tony absolutely knows that's what he did. He tried to talk his way out of it. But Morgan was like, no, because like even when she was like, after Natasha left, like Tony came to me or to Lynn or something like that, was like, oh, we need to get out of here or something like that. And so it just like confirmed like Tony. Kick rocks, Tony. And I'm glad Natasha called it. It's not that he needs to find love for somebody else. He needs to find love for himself. He needs to go get help. He needs therapy. You know, she said that there was like, you know, people come to him, you know, coming to her, warning her about Tony, and like who he really is. That's why I never forget it. When I first saw this show, I said, Tony looked like he punched holes in the wall. He is that nigga. He looked like he punched holes in the wall. So, what was I gonna say? So yeah, Tony want to sit there and do his little accent, his like want to be soft spoken ass. Oh, you know, I just right now you know, I'm just trying to work on myself, and you know, I'm not. Did he say he was dating? I think he said he wasn't, but he was just trying to work on himself. Right? Sure you are, Tony. And Morgan, your ass don't need to be talking to Tony no more. He kept trying to talk to her behind the scenes, but she was like, no, where were you 6 weeks ago when I wanted to talk? So it looked like Tony basically just be ghosting and moving on, ghosting and on to the next. And you can't keep doing that to women, Tony. Like, you're playing with their emotions, Smokey. So I actually really felt really bad for Tasha, because he tried to say that she was trying to get clout because she told producers that, you know, they hooked up. And Tasha, now a little bit of accountability needs to be on you, because you did do that. Like, what about Tony? Like, you shouldn't have hooked up with him. And I think a part of her felt a little bit stupid. I don't think she was looking for clout, but she was basically letting producers know, like, this is something he's doing on the outside of, you know, the process, and you're not supposed to do that. And I think she told producers after, you know, he ghosted her, or after he failed to reply or whatever. But I'm glad Tommy, you know, checked in and was like, look, now Ready to Love isn't a place for you to just act like it's your playground. Like, we generally are looking for matches. And if that is the truth, then y'all need to find better niggas. Because every season y'all finding these niggas and they coming straight out the goddamn dog pound and, you know, garbage. Coming straight out the landfill, these niggas. Because all of them be trash. From Blake to Tony, just all to Andre, just trash. But yeah, he called Tony out, was like, no, especially as he said, our black women. He said, because they be holding our dog asses, you know, they holding us up, bro. Like, and everybody was like, yes, sir, Bob, because we tired, boss. The black women's is tired. We tired putting on the cape, because y'all don't return it by any means. Y'all literally despise black women, it seems like. So while we keep putting on the cape for y'all and trying to be there for you emotionally and fix all your goddamn wounds that you gotta heal, for y'all to just take advantage of it, you know, half the time just hook up with us and dip. And that's what happened to Natasha. And girl, like, you two, you're obviously, everybody hasn't clicked into their discernment yet. You know, some people get it earlier than others. Some people just refuse to kind of like, you know, go against or go with their first mind or their intuition. And Natasha, girl, you too smart. You a lawyer. You was too smart to believe, to not feel Tony's bullshit. Like, I'm sorry. I just think she felt like I don't know what Natasha just said. I really don't, because nothing about Tony, like, I just looking at him when I first saw him, like, I literally, everything in me was just ringing, like, alert, nope, alert, life alert, like, sorry ass nigga in the room was just red lights. That was definitely Tony. And Blake was the other one that my antennas, okay, in the famous words of Cat Williams, my antennas, they was going off. So yeah, I feel bad for Natasha in that regard. And just Tony's full of shit. And Tommy, I think, doesn't do a good job of calling out these men a lot more in the reunions. But yeah, so we get to Cynthia and Anthony. Basically, you know, they were a good match. They loved each other on the show. But then after a situation happened and Cynthia realized, like, maybe I'm not as available as I thought, or maybe as emotionally mature as she thought, because Anthony looked like he ain't gonna be, you know, in that bullshit that she was previously doing with her baby father, because you could tell they was probably going at it back and forth all the time by the way he was talking with them when it came time to meet the exes. Yeah, so I think Cynthia wants to be soft. She wants to find that person she can be vulnerable with. And I think Anthony is that guy, which is why she's like, I'm going to work on myself for him because Anthony deserves that. And that's how you really know that you're with somebody that like, you should be with somebody who understands, like, I want to work on myself for you. Like, you deserve the best person you deserve, you know, a healed person. Like, there's, like, you got to understand with certain people that you're going to be in a relationship with, it's going to require you to change your bad habits and heal and, you know, offer the person the love that, you know, they receive and that you give as well in the most healthiest way. And if you can't work on yourself for the person that you're in a relationship with, like, you got to let them go, because damaging people because you just don't want to work on yourself or improve or give your spouse, you know, the things that they're looking for or needing or asking from you, like, it's just, that's trash. So I really appreciated seeing that, and I really actually hope that Cynthia and Anthony, you know, work on each other. I did laugh when they talked about, like, how Cynthia came in and everything, and Andre was like, all I saw was green. Cynthia came in banging. Like, Cynthia's probably one of my favorite women on this show. I loved her energy. You can tell she was genuine. She wasn't here for the bull. She was one of those women that's like, I'm cool with the process because shit, I'm gonna do me too. Like, you know, she's just not one of those women. So then, trying to think if we got to anything else. Yeah, Mark Anthony in the back, can't fuck with him, and how he just kept trying to stick up for the men, and, oh, y'all just, you know, he caped, or like, oh, slander this and all that. Like, shut up, Mark Anthony. Like, shut up. Like, like, that makes me question you, because how you trying to defend Tony? Like the other girl said, like, all these men, like, y'all aren't really seeing the real Tony. Y'all aren't, you know, they didn't see the bad Tony that all the women are seeing. Let's see. I actually am very upset that they didn't get into the Blake and Jeffrey thing about him, you know, about Jeffrey saying that, yeah, Blake wanted me and that he would leave the show. Like, why did we not get into that? Like, that was a huge thing on the show that required some receipts. Okay, so I'm a little upset that they didn't do that. But overall, I think that kind of was pretty much the show. It really wasn't that much. So y'all tell me how you feel about Ready to Love, what you guys think about the season. Y'all, next up, it's in Dallas, my backyard. Dallas is where I be zooming in and out of. So this will be very interesting to see how Dallas is. But yeah, you guys, drop down in the comments. Tell me how you feel about the couples. Tell me how you feel about Morgan, you know, fighting with Marcia over Tony. What you guys feel about Jeffrey? Do you guys feel like Andre was trying to look for a cop-out? Do you guys believe that Jeffrey is one of those women who be fighting with the baby daddies? What else? Oh, Marcia and Tony, they still cool and talking. Tony's like, yeah, you know, Marcia is there for me. I'll be talking to her, you know, working out my problems and this, and that. And I'm like, y'all niggas gonna end up together. And that's sad, because Marcia, he is trash. What else happened? Yeah, Jeffrey ain't dating. She basically was like, you have to set me and my kids, and like, Andre, you shouldn't even try to sign up for that if that's something you couldn't do. Because she was like, oh, Andre was like, well, how we have time for our children if I'm playing stepdaddy to yours? Nigga, you knew that. Like, that's the thing. Like, you knew that coming in. Like, the fuck? Let's see. Any other men that needed interactions? No, not really. Not that I can think of. Lyndon, love Lyndon. You just gotta move out on your own. You can't be having a roommate, my nigga, if you really want a woman. Like a full grown ass woman, for real, for real. Is there anything I missed? I feel like there's like a comment or something I missed that I wanted to talk about. Andre had the nerve to ask, oh, you know, how you like my suit. Nigga, don't nobody like that suit. Burn it. Throw it in the trash. Gasoline, okay? I feel like that was it, honestly. But yeah, you guys, Ready to Love. What do you guys feel about the series? Are you guys ready for Dallas to come? How you guys feel about the couples? How the show ended up? What you guys feel about Morgan? She crazy? She cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Is Marcia crazy for, you know, still talking to Tony? And yeah, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.